Oh, you're fine.
Good evening. Welcome to What's New. Tonight we have special guest Kathy Kreitler and her guests, and they're going to talk about domestic violence. So, Kathy, go ahead.
Hi, everybody. We've got the Willow's Nest, and we're going to talk about that tonight. And I've got with me our current prosecuting attorney, Wayne Williams, and I've got one of my board members, Vernetta Melton, and we've had her here before, if you remember her. So we've got a lot to talk about tonight. I work quite a bit with Wayne Williams, and we're going to talk about some of the things that we've done together, and then we're also going to talk with Vernetta about where we're at with the shelter and how that's coming along. So I guess we can start. I guess we can talk about where we're at with Wayne, with what we've done. So we've been working together for years. I've been doing this right at 10 years with, I started with the Community Services Forum, if you've been watching Iris's show for a while. So I got 8 years down at the Safe House is where I have my experience from with being a nurse too. I brought their program basically up here with the help of the trauma specialist down there. And then I've been doing it for like 10 years here. And under the Community Services Forum, and we basically brought the exact same program under the Willow's Nest. Now we got incorporated in April of 2026, so just a few months ago we got incorporated. And our board members, if we want to list those off, we've got Doug Burris is our president, and Vernetta here is our secretary, and we've got a list of them here. Devin Melton, and he's an attorney with an MBA, and he's been going over all of our documents that we need to file for the 501c3 and for the incorporation. So he's been extremely helpful, checking and double checking all of those things. Chief Daniel Halleck, our police chief here in St. Genevieve, he's on our board. Betty Joggers, which most people know from our hospital lab, she's on the board. And then we also have Donna Massera. She is our survivor. She's been through the program years ago, and it really helped her, so she wanted to be on the board so that she gives that perspective. And then Mary Kay Bader, which people might know through St. Vincent de Paul. She is the vice president of that program, and she is also on our board. So those are our board members, and we're all working together to, right now we're working on raising the funds for the shelter. It's going to be quite an endeavor. Nationally and in Missouri, with domestic violence shelters, they're actually cutting services and staff because funding is very difficult to find right now. But our board knows how important it is in St. Genevieve, and so they're going to keep trudging away and finding a way to help our local people. And I've been able to see firsthand the change that it brings to people when they get out of the violence that's in their households, and it makes such a huge difference. And Wayne's been able to see that too. It just changes their lives immensely. So it is important that we offer this service to our citizens. So that's kind of a synopsis of it. But I work with Wayne quite a bit. So if I have a client that needs his services, we interact a lot. So I'll bring a client to him, and they'll express what their needs are, and he'll explain the process, but then I also explain the process to them. And we went to a conference back in April, and it was given by Catherine Vanier, and there's actually a picture of us when we were there we took with her. And she's the lead prosecutor with the Missouri Office of Prosecuting Services. And she educates prosecutors on down through Missouri. And I've been working with her, and I introduced Wayne to her. Yes. And that was several years ago. And there's a picture of us. And Wayne and I actually hosted a training back in January of 25 where we brought Catherine to St. Genevieve, and she educated on the dominant aggressor. I don't know if you want to talk a little bit.
Well, domestic violence is obviously it's a problem, and there's a lot of difficulties and there's a lot of nuances on that type of case, domestic violence cases. And there's a lot of repercussions in the community, for the victim, for the children of the victim who also live in the community. It's a very complicated and multifaceted issue. And we're trying to address that with best practices. And the thing about best practices, and Kathy and I have talked about that before, is that they evolve over time. And we want to use the best practices that we have to hold the aggressor accountable at some level. Obviously, you have domestic victims, most of which do not want to cooperate with the prosecution of the domestic assault cases. And that's for obvious reasons. I mean, common sense reasons. Fear, it may be one problem. They fear retribution from the aggressor. The aggressor is usually a spouse or boyfriend or significant other of some sort. Not always, but it can be. Or the aggressor could be a parent, and the victim would be a child and things of that nature. But fear is one thing that they don't want to cooperate. You have a family nucleus there sometimes where the victim is not the financial breadwinner in the family, and there's young children in the family, and if the person goes to jail or prison, what happens to the ability to provide for the family? And I'm sure I've had conversations with domestic victims many times before where that was the honest part of the discussion about, okay, how are we going to hold this person accountable and not financially ruin our family? And so a lot of people think that prosecuting attorneys have to send people to prison, and that's what we're after, and that's what we want to do. That's not necessarily true on these domestic assault cases. You have a whole spectrum of domestic assault cases. Some cases are pushing and shoving, and nobody is hurt or harmed. Some cases are throwing things in the residence and putting a hole in the wall, and then you have more hands-on, where people and the victims incur or sustain injuries as a result of the domestic violence. And then you have maybe strangulation. That's a special type of domestic violence. That's a more heightened. We really start to get concerned about those strangulation cases. Even if it didn't last long, it's a special type of domestic violence. And then there's domestic violence. St. Genevieve County has witnessed this before, not on my watch as a prosecuting attorney, thankfully, and I hope it never happens on my watch. But the county has witnessed a fatality, a murder-suicide involving domestic violence right here in St. Genevieve County over at Country Mart. Mm-hmm. And we don't want to see that kind of thing happen again. We want to use best practices to try to undermine that and mitigate those issues down to where we don't have to see members of our community going to,
Right.
to a funeral.
And that's one thing I bring up Catherine about is she has a lot of educational things because, like I said, she educates across the state. But not only does Wayne go to trainings, but he makes sure his staff goes to trainings just for domestic violence.
Yes.
And then she also has monthly meetings through Zoom and things that his staff participates in, which is excellent because it keeps them up on best practices, which is the most recent things that are going on, and they can discuss what's going on with like current cases that they're working with or that she's seeing. She can relay that information on what's worked in court and things like that.
When we go to the training events, it's an excellent opportunity to network with other law enforcement partners throughout the state of Missouri and even in other states. They bring in people from all over the United States at these training events. And it's really interesting to talk to people, for me as a prosecutor, to talk to other prosecutors. Hey, I've got these kind of issues in my county. What kind of issues do you have in your county? And to see how different counties are trying to address these issues and hold the aggressors accountable and try to prevent this type of domestic violence from occurring again. The problem with domestic violence is, unless it is addressed, it almost 100% will reoccur. And usually it's more serious the next time. And that's a big risk to the victims and the family members of the victims. It's a big risk to law enforcement officers who are responding to the domestic violence calls. These are the most dangerous calls, I think, that law enforcement can respond to. You never know what frame of mind people are in. You never know if they're under the influence of narcotics or alcohol or if they're suicidal or homicidal, you never know. And the officers take big risks when they respond to these calls. And we would like to mitigate this down as much as we can. Sometimes we don't have to send people to prison. We can put them on probation. Sometimes it's misdemeanor probation. Sometimes it's felony probation. There can be conditions attached. And often the victims don't even want to talk to us, and I understand that. And I'm not blaming the victims, because it's a psychological issue. But
We work together, so I can talk to the when I say we work together, so I can talk to the victim and find out what the victim wants, but we can work together, and I can be like a buffer between his office and me, and then we work to get the best overall result for what the victim wants and what would be best overall. So.
Right.
Initially, I was thinking just throw the book at him, but then he can explain how we can do this alternative, and that would work out better overall. And then the victim ends up happier with the situation, and it works out better overall. So he looks at the complete picture. So which was surprising to me when I first started working with Wayne. Because I'm like, throw the book at him, put him away forever. But he has a good overall picture of things. But when I say we work together, we talk to each other and everything, and we bring the victim in and talk about what's going on between the two, and then I can be a buffer to his office so that the victim gets the benefit of his office and understands things more, and they're not so afraid to just walk into his office and not know what's going to happen. And also with court, so that I can explain what's going to happen in court, and they'll understand what he's doing more. And with negotiating what the sentence might be, we can help negotiate and explain that to the victim more. So it's beneficial to work with his office, and he's been very good about doing that.
We always take into consideration the needs of the victim, and there's a victim's rights statute that requires prosecuting attorneys across the state of Missouri to consult with victims, whether it's domestic violence or any other victim, robbery victims, sexual assault victims, any type of victim. And we have to advise them of the status of the case, any meaningful dispositions in the case, like bond reductions, any plea negotiations, that's always discussed with the victim. And we don't leave the victim out unless the victim has refused to cooperate with us. And, some victims disappear. You don't see them. They move to maybe another state or another part of Missouri, and you don't have access to the victim. But barring that, we always make an effort, a documented effort, to contact those victims and speak with them and discuss what the disposition should be in this particular case. And they're always a part of the solution in my office.
Yeah, and tonight we're just talking about domestic violence in the Willow's Nest. He does more than domestic violence, but tonight is just about domestic violence with what we're doing. But anyway, so that's kind of how we work together. So do you want to talk a little bit about where we're at with the shelter a little bit?
Yes, we're pretty well progressing along. We have our first required documents done, and that's setting up our board, getting our biographies set up. We also have our certificate of incorporation. We are now working on the documents that we need for the federal incorporation, and our attorney is helping us out with that. So
It's not Wayne.
No, it's
You kind
not
of looked and
Wayne.
nodded. It's not Wayne.
It's not Wayne, it is Devin.
That's right.
And we're moving forward with our funding side of it. Kathy and I both have been working diligently. We have come up with our first funder, and that is a rockathon, which we are hosting on August the 22nd. And we're going to have our hall open from 8 in the morning till 8 in the evening. However, that does not mean that someone has to rock that entire time. It means that the hall will be available through those hours, and they can choose the time frame that they wish to rock. The St. Genevieve Eagles is where we will be holding the rockathon. The theme is based in the 1960s. We will present prizes for best dress, best team, and best rocked and dance moves. And there'll also be some other activities in conjunction with that. For more information and sponsor forms, those can be picked up. We have 4 designated areas: the St. Genevieve Library, St. Genevieve County Health, By the Bunch, Florist, and the First State Community Bank. Participants can pre-register for a free t-shirt for $15, or they may also register at the door at the fee of $20. We also have the option to pre-order meals, which we will provide lunch for $8, dinner for $15, or both meals for $20, and that's with pre-registration. If you have any questions at all, we have 2 numbers provided. Myself at 573-366-1561, or Mary Kay at 573-517-2397. Everything is sponsored by Willow's Nest, and it is
It's for, if you think of
for them.
rocking, like a granny rocking in a rocking chair,
Yes.
your auntie and your uncle rocking in a rocking chair.
We do ask you, if you can, to bring your own rocker. We will have some available, some provided, but we really stress, if you can, bring your own rocker. At the 4 places that I designated where you could pick up your information,
Packet forms that look like
Yes.
this.
that's the front, and then here's your rules and everything on there. And if you have any further questions, don't hesitate to call. We have included a form where you can get your sponsors who will back you up with your rocking. And we have it set up where you can pledge a designated amount, or you can pledge a certain amount per minute. And that's entirely left up to you. Make sure you bring these documents with you on the day of the Rockathon. Can you think of anything I forgot, Kathy?
Nope, there's a lot of information on this sheet here that kind of tells you all the details, but if there's any extra questions, there's some numbers there. So,
I think I covered everything.
yep, it'll be fun. Dress up like 60s style and get ready to have some hand jive. I keep saying hand jives because they'll be rocking.
I'm gonna look up a lot of the dances. I remember a lot of the dances from the 60s, but some of them I don't. And
Come on,
we can
Iris.
incorporate
What's a
those
dance
moves.
from the 60s?
I have no idea.
Oh, come on, Doris.
No, Iris.
I mean, Doris.
I was raising my children at that time and probably didn't pay much
You were a
attention.
little older.
Oh, really? I
And what
guess
about
so.
the twist?
I got married in
twist.
63.
Well, you would have been dancing back then, right?
Not with the kids, no.
But yeah, but you caught
Twist.
Dave.
You
You
did the
caught
twist
Dave
and the
in the
jerk.
60s, so you would have had
No.
to dance to catch him.
Well, we were, I guess, jitterbug.
The jitterbug.
Probably.
Okay. Okay.
Mostly, yeah.
The jitterbug. There
But you can
go.
remember them, can't you? You can remember the twist and
Oh,
the
yeah.
jerk.
Yeah,
and
but
the
that was
stroll.
later. That was later, yeah.
Was it later?
A little
Was
bit
it the
later than her.
poodle
'Cause
skirt?
you were more in the 50s.
More 50s,
Yeah.
yeah.
50s. Okay.
Yeah, she was
Okay.
more in the 50s.
Yeah,
and
I was more
in
in
the
the-
60s.
More in the 50s. I was 24 in
You guys are really
63.
old. I was the 70s.
I am really old. You got it, Kathy. You got
I get to say that while I can because I'm going to be older in just a little
And
bit.
it's okay. You're only as old as you feel up here.
That's right. That's it, exactly.
I got to rub it in while I can because I'm going to be the older one pretty soon.
Yes.
I'm already a grandma.
And I'm a great-grandmother, so.
Yeah.
There we
It
are,
goes
yeah.
fast, doesn't it?
It does. It goes very fast, yeah.
Okay, so we do have the Rockathon, and that's August 22nd, and of course, we have the rally. That's coming up September 26th, and it's going to be basically the same that we've done the same 2 years, which that's another thing we've done together. We've given out a prosecutor's trophy the last 2 years. We're going to do it again this year.
Correct.
And
It's a lot of fun.
yeah, and he always helps clean up afterwards too, which always amazes me.
And that's a good thing.
There is one
Doing my
difference
part.
though.
Oh, yeah?
Kathy, your location.
Oh, yeah, we are having a different location this year. We're going to do it at the Moses Austin Park because last year
really?
was so hot.
Yeah.
We have shade down there.
Yes, it is. It's very nice down there.
Yeah, so, yeah, we're going to have some shade this year for the car show. So, yeah, those are two fundraisers.
Use the
But
Hoffman
Yeah.
property too?
yeah.
Oh,
So
that's good, yeah.
well, I haven't talked to him yet.
Oh, you
I've talked
haven't
to
asked
Jamie.
yet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've talked to Jamie, so
Jamie.
we've got that area, but we've been doing a lot
They're
for the
planning,
Rockathon, so
right.
we're still planning on the,
Yeah.
one step
A
at a
lot
time.
of work in those
Yeah.
events, yeah.
Yeah,
A lot of
because
work.
one thing that we're doing together too, which I didn't even talk about this yet, is so after we went to the conference together, we're planning on bringing Catherine involved because she educates, like I said, statewide, prosecutors on down. So she's going to help us make a path to educate our law enforcement and auxiliary services so they can learn to document and observe and things so that he can, so Mr. Williams can better prosecute those cases too. So we've been in talks with Catherine to do that too. So that's something that we are working on together actively.
And to bring in some recognized
Yes.
speakers besides Catherine. There's,
Oh, yeah.
There's
No,
national
that's-
speakers that are pretty
Yeah.
well informed on the issue.
Right, we're working with her to do that. Like, we've already secured Brian Grove, and he was law enforcement for his entire career, and he basically retired and figured out he was bored. So he actually currently works for an advocacy center, a domestic violence advocacy center, and he educates law enforcement. And he spoke at the conference we went to with Gabby
did.
Pimento's dad,
yeah.
and they kind of talked about things that happened. Gabby Pimento was the girl in the van, I think it was Arizona, and
out
her,
west, yeah.
her boyfriend ended up killing her.
Oh, my.
And so they nitpicked kind of what happened with that so that we could all learn from it. So Brian Grove spoke at that, and then he also presented all by himself. The name of that was like, why does he do that? And they kind of picked apart that, why does the abuser do those kind of things, and
Right.
how law enforcement can work. So we did secure him so far, but we are working with Catherine to bring in those speakers into St. Genevieve to educate our people. And she's actually going to use that as like a training model to use across the state. And you think that sounds cool, but she's actually used St. Genevieve on one of my clients. I was talking with her, and I work one-on-one with her, which most advocates don't, but because I'm by myself here, I would talk to her quite a bit, and she has another 3-part training that I've already taken, and she designed it after working with me because it was a need statewide, so she's doing that training too.
Now-
So it's good that we have that connection.
Catherine was a prosecuting attorney, and she still is, I guess, and,
Mm-hmm. Yes,
and does
still
prosecute
prosecutes.
cases across the state of Missouri,
Mm-hmm.
and is willing to help, even come to St. Genevieve and assist me on prosecution
Mm-hmm.
of domestic violence cases and things of that nature. So she's a very, as far as a litigator,
Mm-hmm.
she's litigated a lot of big cases in Missouri, and gotten a lot of good results, and has a lot of good ideas about what the issue is, and it's all to make our community a safer place. That's all we're trying to do. It's just make it a safer place for everyone. I don't know why, I just thought about this. I hope you don't mind.
No, I don't mind.
I just,
Say what you want.
things pop into my head sometimes. There's a lot of things, talking about St. Genevieve County, there's a lot of things that make a community that kind of pull the people together, right? Like charitable giving, how we treat the people who need the most help. St. Genevieve County, big check mark on that department. And, I was born in Caddo Parish, Louisiana, that's Shreveport, Louisiana. And I moved to Arkansas and lived in a small town about the size of St. Genevieve County and graduated high school there. And the thing that pulled the community together in some of those communities was the food.
Oh
You
my
know,
gosh.
And if you talk about
He
food,
loves
Food,
food.
yeah.
the food, so the food, and I just want to say this while we're here together, because I'll never get an opportunity to say it again. St. Genevieve County, you may not know this, has the best fried chicken
They do.
of any place ever. Except for my grandmother's fried chicken. I would say her fried chicken, you
It was
know, I'm a little biased because every grandson is going to say their
Oh,
grandmother's
well, of
fried
course,
chicken is
if you
good.
don't, you're in trouble.
That's right. And God bless my grandparents, both of my grandmothers. If they were here, they're both deceased, but if they were here, I would hug them and kiss them and give them something good to eat. I love them very much. I miss them too. But that fried chicken is really good here.
It is.
And I'm from the South, so, you know, they got some good fried chicken in the South. That's pretty good stuff.
He
And-
likes the good food, trust me.
fried fish and fried chicken, you can't beat that. But the fried chicken is really, really good here. I would say
Yay, St. John.
I would say, well, the Old Brick has good fried chicken. Anvil,
Yes, they do.
Audubon has good fried chicken. The Flash, they got really good fried chicken over there. And you know, it's a good
Cafe
environment.
Genevieve now.
It's Cafe St. Genevieve, yeah. Cafe Genevieve, yeah. Well, the old days, they said Flash, I guess.
Yeah, well, yeah, but
Yeah.
we know who you're talking about.
Yeah, we still call it Flash every once in a while, too.
It's hard to get good fried chicken though, but that's pretty good stuff. I would just want to say, you know, that pulls the community together though, the food and the charitable giving and how you treat people, that's all a part of it. And
And I think our county is very, very generous,
I think so.
We
Very much
are,
so.
Absolutely.
no
yeah,
matter what
No
the
matter what the
collection is.
circumstances are.
Everybody
yeah.
pulls together. and
Yeah, St. Genevieve
Absolutely.
really
Makes it
does
happen.
come through.
For
That's
sure.
one good thing.
They really do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, St. Genevieve really is good for that.
Yep.
Yeah, and I don't know why this popped into my head, but one thing about St. Genevieve that I see with domestic violence, I go to these regional meetings that the Missouri Coalition Against Domestic and Sexual Violence has, and I'm one person that has basically been doing domestic violence services in St. Jenny. You would think that's kind of strange, but in our region, there's actually another girl that does. She's one person who does the domestic violence services, and she's in Reynolds County, and she has a problem where it's a poor county and they have where they don't have the funds and stuff like that. So she's trying to get funding where she can help people and stuff, and has trouble getting that for her people, which funding is an issue. But what I see a lot is professionals who are in domestic violence situations, and they stay in those situations because they have affluent lifestyles. And if they leave their abuser, then they give up, you know, their lifestyle, that they have the nice house and the nice car, and their kids are in the extracurricular activities and they wear the designer clothes and all that stuff. And it's hard for them to leave that abusive situation because they go to a lesser lifestyle. They'll have to give up the nice car and the nice house and all the luxuries. So me and her were talking at the last meeting, and she has the other side where, you know, she's trying to get them help and trying to do better for them. And mine have a good life and they don't want to get out of the abusive situation because they have to sacrifice
Right.
so much.
So much.
Yeah, so it's funny how domestic violence has so many nuances, like you said. Part of it is the St. Genevieve culture where you have nice lifestyles, but you'd be surprised there are a lot of professional people who, you know, are victims of domestic violence. And like I spoke of before, so what makes you susceptible to domestic violence is whenever you love somebody, you open your heart to them, and that's what makes you susceptible. And you have a soul tie, we call it, where you're emotionally connected to the person, and that makes you susceptible to them abusing you.
Right.
And if you didn't have that soul tie, you would say, you know, hey, you just hit me, don't do that again, you know, and you would call the cops and say, hey, they did that, you know. But whenever you emotionally are tied to them, you don't want to get them in trouble because, you know, you love them and you don't want them to go to jail that night and things like that. Where if it was Joe on the street, yeah, you want them to go to jail because they just hit you. So there's that difference in there, and it's because you have that emotional connection to them. So that's why you have the people who have the haves that don't want to give that up, you know. And even if you don't have a lot in life, you still have that emotional tie, and you don't want to give up the life that you do have, which is what you were talking about, the main breadwinner. And then what happens if he's in jail, or if he can't make the money, then what's going to happen to you and the kids? And that kind of thing is a huge, huge concern, you know. And then if he doesn't get prosecuted, and if he doesn't, you know, go to jail or something, then he's going to be even more angry, you know. And then what happens, you know, are you going to have a higher price to pay?
Right.
You know, so all those
Absolutely.
things go through a victim's mind.
You know, as a prosecuting attorney, you know, I'm at the courthouse all the time. We're just running dockets after dockets, and sometimes I'm a special prosecutor, you know, and I cover other counties as well from time to time. If a prosecutor's got a conflict of interest and he cannot prosecute that case, so oftentimes I'll get assigned to those cases. But for the most part, I did venture out earlier this year and attended a board meeting of the Willow's Nest.
Oh, yeah, he's been to our board meetings too.
And are those open to the public, or are they just, are they
I don't
not open to the
know.
public?
I guess they are. I don't know.
We haven't discussed it really yet.
Okay.
But right now,
We wanted you to come, yeah.
yeah, right now, it would be kind of difficult because we spend so much time trying to get those
Documents done.
documents done.
Gotcha.
After
Yeah.
we get the documents done, I would say yes.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know,
we got nothing.
but,
I think
I
people
mean-
are welcome to come.
Oh, yeah, I think they
Yeah.
are. But right now, like I say, we just
Yeah.
really need to
We
get
just
those
have,
documents
well, we just have
done.
one, we have one more meeting and the documents will be done. Yeah, one more meeting and they'll be
hoping,
done.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the thing that impressed me about the meeting I attended, the board meeting at Willow's Nest, was the group of people that are dedicated to the issue of trying to help victims of domestic violence in our community. And, you know, as a prosecuting attorney, a lot of times if you talk to prosecuting attorneys in different counties, sometimes you feel like you're alone on these domestic violence cases. You feel like you're the only person. Then I met Kathy. Okay, I'm not alone. Then we had the training opportunities that we've had both here in St. Genevieve County and in other parts of the state that were helpful. And then you start to feel like you're a part of a group of people that really want to address this issue and really reduce the danger to the community, to families, and things of that nature. So that was what was helpful, and that's kind of the big thing I gained from going to the board, is all the dedicated individuals on the board that are trying to make life a little bit better for the crime victims.
Yeah, yeah.
So-
And
You
we
guys are doing a
really
good
do
job.
have a good board put together.
We have
I think so,
They are
too.
excellent.
We have an excellent board. I'm very proud. I shouldn't say this on TV, but when he was talking with Chief Halleck and Doug Burris, and they're kind of all law enforcement, and Devin was there, I could have cried. This is like a dream of mine, like my whole life, to have a domestic violence place where people could go to get help. And honest to goodness, I could have cried watching you guys all talk and everything. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is going to come. This is going to happen. Yeah, to
you're gonna
fruition.
see it.
It's an opportunity, yeah.
It's so needed. It really is.
It really
It
is.
is needed.
Yep.
So,
I think so.
oh, you've got numbers here. You want to share numbers with us on domestic violence, or not really numbers on domestic violence?
I don't have them on
Okay.
domestic violence. I
Okay.
was out of the office for
Okay,
3
that's
days
okay.
last
That's
week, and
okay.
I just hadn't had an
Oh, that's
opportunity.
fine.
That's
Yeah,
just
if you
different
don't have
numbers.
domestic
Yeah,
violence.
that's
Okay.
not domestic violence stuff.
All right, I do have numbers on domestic violence. So these are from the state, which I brought before. For previous years is what I meant when I said I brought them before. And these are for the southeast region. Let's see. I gotta decipher them first. Let's see, it says, I'm taking too long to read this. So it's saying the ages of domestic violence in southeast Missouri, the ages between 18 and 24 are 11% are receiving, the percentage of receiving services, 11% are between the ages of 18 and 24. The ages of 25 to 35 is 33%, 36 to 45 is 26%, and 46 to 59, which if you think 46 to 59 is older people, there I go talking age again. 17% of people in that age group, and then 6% are 60 and older. So that's still substantial, I think.
It is.
Yeah. And then the children, they've got 0 to 2 years old are, that looks like 27%. 27% are under 2 years old, and then 3 to 5 years old, 22% are children. 6 to 9% are 23% are children, and 10 to 12-year-olds are 13%, and 13 to 17-year-old are 15% of the clients, or the children clients, I should say. One thing about, my heart is for the kids, and they say that a child that's in a home where there's domestic violence, if the child is in the home, they don't actually even have to see the abuse but just being in the home, the child feels whatever happens in the home 10 times more than the adult does, which sounds really, really bad. I mean, it is really bad. They don't have to actually see it. Just being in the house or hearing it or knowing that it's happening affects the child 10 times more than the adult. So if you think, if the adult's getting hit, the child is feeling that blow 10 times more than what the adult is feeling it. So the effects on the children is so much more even than what's going on with the adult who's getting the actual abuse. And that's why my heart is for the children. So anyway,
Absolutely.
yeah, it's a huge impact on the kids. Let's see what else I can talk about. You can talk about something too. You don't want to?
I'm not as up on it as you
Oh,
are,
okay.
you know. I'm
Yeah.
always afraid I'll say the wrong thing at this point.
Oh, you're fine.
Because I'm not as up on it
Yeah.
as she is.
So we went to the housing conference. Yeah, me and Vernetta went to the coalition, Missouri Coalition's housing conference, and we learned quite a bit at that.
Yes,
And
we
then,
did.
what else, what other conference did we go to? Seems
The
like we went
one
to a
down at
couple of
Cape.
them.
What
Yeah,
was
we
that
went
one
to
down
the
at Cape?
Missouri Foundation for Health. They had an advocacy conference that we went to. And so I do have the weekly meeting for the survivors here in town, and that's going really good. If they were here, they would tell you how good it's going. We do a topic, and we talk about that topic that pertains to what's going on in their lives, and they use that information during the week until we meet again the following week. And then we also talk about what's going on with them, but what's really neat about it is nobody really understands domestic violence unless you're going through it. And whenever they meet, they just connect, and instantly they just connect. It's really hard to walk into the room the first time because I can't tell them who's there. It's all confidential, and they keep it confidential because they want others to keep it confidential, so there's a respect that they have for each other. But they just connect instantly, and they understand each other in a way that other people would never understand. And so that makes a real companionship that they have. And it's really awesome because I've been super busy with everything lately. And it's been awesome because they actually help each other out during the week, where normally I would kind of step in and help them. But they've been able to help each other during the week, which is like, I just think that's so great that they're able to do that. So it's like, kind of like what a mom wants their kids to do. That's kind of how I feel. It's like, yeah, they're doing it. But, so this is kind of what we do. I'm going to follow it. It's kind of like a brochure I put on a flat piece of paper. I'm going to turn it a little bit, Charlie, so I can read it. So we're located in St. Genevieve, and we do service St. Gen, Perry County, St. Francis County, and Jefferson County. And I've had clients in all of those counties already, and actually Iron County too. We have a P.O. Box of 202 if anybody wants to send anything to us. We do have a QR code that's on the Rockathon, and that takes you to our Facebook page. And then if you go to Willow's Nest Facebook page, we also have the Rally Facebook page attached to that. And you can see the videos of them making the trophies. They hand fabricate those trophies out of real engine parts, which is cool. And then, yeah, you can call for support for domestic or sexual assault. And then our phone number is 573-880-5540. And you can call or text that number. It's 24/7. 365. And then some of the information we can give you just basic information, and you can use any name, so you can be anonymous, but if you end up with getting services, then you will have to give your name. But initial information and just like some peer counseling and things like that, you can be anonymous to start out with. So if you just want to kind of fish around and find out what kind of services, or if you want like a referral to another agency or something like that, you don't have to give your name. We just want you to get some help, so you don't have to, divulge your name. You can use any name you want. And then we want males and females to contact us. If you look at the Missouri Highway Patrol report numbers, it looks like about a third of our victims now are male. And it used to be like, I think it was like 25%, but now we're like at 30%. But I do help men too. I've had men contact me, which is perfectly fine, and peer counseling, because it's not it's not male or female, it's the, making yourself vulnerable because you love someone, and it's power and control, so it's nothing to do with male or female. So, which is surprising to some people. Most of the time, it's a male aggressor and a female victim, but not always. So if there's any guys out there, don't feel like you're the only one. A female can be just as aggressive and just as controlling as a man can be. So it has nothing to do with masculinity or how tough you are or anything like that. I think most mothers would say they raise their boys not to hit women. Well, women should not hit men either. And it doesn't have to be, like the shirt says, domestic violence doesn't always mean bruises. Basically, every victim I've ever talked to says the emotional and psychological abuse is worse than the physical abuse.
Right.
So even if you're not getting hit, if they're verbally putting you down and your self-esteem just goes down, 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 which that's my quote in we have the biographies of our members. My quote is, many people think domestic violence is just bruises, but I believe it's a systematic mental and emotional dismantling of a person that may require physical assault, and that I've seen huge changes in the survivor when they become free of abuse. And we all deserve to live violence-free, and we need to provide these services to our citizens. That's my quote. So, it may require physical assault, which most of the laws and everything only deal with the physical assault, because then you're talking life and death. But the psychological and emotional damage can destroy lives. It destroys lives. It doesn't kill you, which he deals more with the physical and could kill you. But I deal with the emotional and how it can just destroy your self-esteem, and you end up depressed and just basically jello. They have no self-esteem. So we build you back up and get you steady on your feet and get your life back and find out that you are worth something and you are valuable. So that's what I do a lot.
If I could say something here too.
Yes, I'll let you talk every now and again.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. She's really nice.
Very nice, yeah.
I would just say that, if there's any victims out there watching the program, we want you to know that we do, the prosecuting attorney and Kathy, the group here, we understand your concerns and what your issues are, and, we're very sensitive to that. And don't be afraid to come in and talk to me. Sometimes I have defendants that come in and talk to me without a lawyer, and we have an honest discussion about things. And, I want the victims, I would rather have my victims come in and talk to me alone and feel comfortable about that's going to be a confidential conversation that you can have with me. Kathy could be there if you want her to be there to make you feel better. But we can talk about your specific situation, and the things that's important to you are important to me. Mm-hmm. And it's really what you don't understand and what you don't know is what scares us the most, right? It's the myth of it. But once you demystify things, it's not as scary as you once thought, and we can work through the problems to reduce the danger to you and your family, and that's all we're trying to do. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah, that's one thing. Like I was saying, he wants to find the best solution for the issue, and like I said earlier, I always thought throw the book at him, but no, he can find the best solution for what's going on.
And that leads to the next discussion. Sometimes we can't throw the book at them because you're limited to some degree based on your evidence in the case. Mm-hmm. And if your victim does not want to cooperate and you don't have good evidence, you can't get the case, you can't move it past a preliminary hearing. And the defendants know that, the defense attorneys know that particularly, and they're doing their jobs and they're talking to their clients and things of that nature. But at the same time, we're trying to turn the corner on this domestic violence issue here in the community. The problem with domestic violence cases is, generally speaking, you have whatever police officer's on duty, they may respond to robbery calls, burglary calls, trespassing calls, a whole host of different calls besides domestic violence. They don't specialize in domestic violence. They're kind of generalist. And when you get a domestic violence call, they respond to those calls, and, they wrap those calls up pretty good. And our officers are very conscientious, and they do a great job in the community, both the city police department and the sheriff's office, the highway patrol. Everybody does a great job. However, unlike a homicide case, when a murder occurs, you get those same officers responding, but they secure the scene and call in the specialist. And the specialists come in, and those officers address the issues of preservation of evidence. Those officers can read the crime scene based on all the other crime scenes they've seen just like that or similar to that, and they can pick out evidence that's important and what's not important or as important, and they can secure that evidence and preserve it for the prosecutor to use later for successful prosecution of that type of case. Domestic violence, we don't have that. We don't have specialists, because it's hard to, you just don't have enough resources really in the community to make specialists out of everyone for domestic violence. So what I'm trying to do with Kathy is what some other prosecutors' offices are doing in the state is, in a murder case, a homicide case, you don't have a victim. But they successfully prosecute murder cases. We've done it here. One of my first cases was a homicide case. We successfully prosecuted that case. So in domestic violence cases, if you don't have a cooperating victim, we still want to be able to successfully prosecute that case. So it's going to require this training that we're talking about at the local level with law enforcement, our law enforcement partners, to recognize certain types of evidence and obtain certain types of evidence at the crime scenes when they go to respond to these domestic disturbance calls to the extent possible. And we call that evidence-based prosecutions, and it helps if you have a grand jury as opposed to having to go through a preliminary hearing. Grand juries are easier for these types of cases. They're easier for child sex cases to get past the probable cause part of the case and move the case on towards a jury trial. If we had a grand jury, and I know there's an expense associated to that, and if the county commissioners are watching this, they may be upset with me even saying anything about grand juries because they cost some money and they've been abused before in other counties. They're not for every case; they're for certain types of cases, really. And this would be one of those types of cases. Domestic violence would fit nicely into a grand jury type of situation. But anyway, we're working on that, and we're trying to get some best practices for that. Not everyone realizes when they come up on a crime scene, well, okay, she said she was strangled, but there's evidence of strangulation, and it's in the eyes. And not every officer may know that. And if you can photograph the eyes, or EMT who responds, the medical people who respond, for medical records purposes and photographs, that can be an injury with the blood vessels bursting in the eyes. And, that's an example of one type of piece of evidence that would be helpful to me to prosecute that case without the victim. Because the victim didn't strangle themselves.
Right.
Somebody had to do that. I think most juries will understand that and believe that and not believe that, she got that some other way. So anyway, that's just some of the things we're trying to do with domestic violence cases, and that's the reason for the training, the benefits of the training, and we're optimistic about the future.
Yeah.
That's good.
November before last, there was a coalition of the Missouri Coalition Against Domestic and Sexual Violence had some people in it. Sarah Brammer does the VIP. She was on that.
Right.
Catherine was in that committee, and they made bench cards of lethality, the judicial
Right.
benchmarks.
I remember that.
And it identified lethality cards, like things that would lead to the death of someone. If these things are present, the chances of an abuser killing their victim make it this much higher. And those kind of things are identified. So things like that are in best practices. So
Unfortunately, we learn more, in my opinion, from our mistakes than the things we do well. And some of these, like the lethality forms and things of that nature, are based on mistakes that's been made in the field by law enforcement, by prosecuting attorneys, by courts. It's based on these mistakes, and so I always say, let's learn from the mistakes, and not
Right.
make the same ones over again. And hopefully we can go forward and with a better. I used to supervise attorneys and train attorneys, and I would tell them that, you're going to learn more from your mistakes than you do from
yeah,
the things you
definitely.
do
I
well.
think so,
And because you're going to remember those, and they're going to keep you up at night, you're going to think about that, and let that be your guide and not make those mistakes over. So that's what we're learning from this training is really it's based on the mistakes of others that came before us. And we're kind of stepping on their shoulders to march forward in the battle against domestic violence. So
Yep.
Now, and I might add here, if anybody listening out there wants to call in, the number's on the screen, and you can call in anonymous and ask any question you want to Kathy or anybody here. So
We'll answer.
you're welcome to do it. So, and they'll answer you for sure.
Yep.
Okay.
So what do we want to talk about next?
I don't know. I think it's pretty well covered. You guys have done a good job.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm trying to think.
I think that what you guys has gone over has really
Very
put a
informative.
lot of education
Right.
in front of everyone that's listening.
Iris says I always bring good
I don't
stuff.
think you
You
can,
do bring good stuff.
don't
People
think
don't
we
really
can-
realize what all goes on. They live in a town and they know everyone and they're like, they just kind of ignore it. Yeah. When there's
Yes, I
probably
think
some
one of
really
the-
bad stuff that needs taken care of. Yep.
I think one of the main things that I would stress, and it is that we do have to have the financial backing to get us going here. It's very important at this point.
And
We're taking on a big endeavor, and we can't be successful without your help.
yeah. And so where would they send money to, or funds, or support? Where-
Well, they could send it to the Willow Nest at the Post Office Box 202 here in St. Genevieve, or they can use our QR code.
to do it. Okay.
just for the people in the community, I assume Willow's Nest is a nonprofit organization.
That is correct.
So your donations could be tax deductible and things of that
Yes.
nature.
Yeah.
And would Willow's Nest give some sort of indication that the contribution was made to Willow's Nest?
Yeah.
Yes.
Right now,
Okay.
we're waiting on hearing back from the 501c3.
That's
So
great.
we're not
Okay.
officially stamped
You're not
yet.
officially
But
yet.
as soon as we get officially stamped, then we're gonna,
That'd be great.
yeah, but we're right on the edge of it. Right on the edge of it.
And you're right, there is definitely a
Yes.
tax deduction.
So that might
waiting.
encourage some people that have some funds to donate to charitable causes to send money your way.
Actually,
Based on that.
actually with domestic violence, so there's Domestic Violence Shelter Services, there's a 70% tax credit in Missouri.
Wow.
Yes,
In Missouri, is there?
70%.
Like Options for Women has
Yes,
that too.
yes, they do, yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, so there's a 70% in Missouri and then the 10% for the national 501c3.
And that really
Federal.
saves on your taxes.
Yeah, so you get like 80% back, but you do have to itemize to get that.
Yeah.
But if you itemize, then that's a good.
a good thing.
That's a good return.
That's a good return.
So, yeah, but we're right on the brink of getting that, where you get 80% back. So once we get that, we're gonna run with it.
What do you think your ETA is on getting that designation, nonprofit designation?
Hopefully, within a month or two, we'll have word that,
So
Yeah,
this
they
year,
s-
for sure?
oh, yeah, definitely
likely.
this
Okay,
year.
okay.
Definitely this
Yeah,
year.
they tell us it takes a while
Yeah,
to get it all
a couple
through.
months to get through.
Sometimes a couple of 2 to 3 months.
Yeah.
Okay.
Time frame that,
Right.
in that area.
Yeah, so.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I wanted to tell everybody, if you call into that number, the 573-880-5540, if you're in crisis or if you're not in crisis, but if you are in crisis, we can get you a safe place to stay. That's not a problem. And then we'll go there and find out what your needs are. We'll safety plan right away, make sure you're safe. Find out what your needs are. If you have your kids, that's fine. There's no problem with kids or anything like that. We'll find out what you need, what your needs are, what your plans are. We'll sit down and work all that out with you and find out what your wants are. And we can help you with everything from any applications for like housing, legal aid, maybe to find a job, things like that. Maybe you'll need what food stamps, they call them SNAP now, things like that, insurance with like Medicaid if you need something like that with food. Anything you need down those lines. Sometimes Voc Rehab, we can get you signed up for counseling, anything that you need down those lines. We basically do everything that you would get in a shelter. I always recommend shelter stays. Usually it's like a 30 or 45-day stay, but they can extend it if you need longer. I always say a shelter, when you stay in a longer stay shelter, it's kind of like a hospital is, where they can work with you 24/7 the whole time. But the issue that St. Genevieve people have with the surrounding shelters is that they kind of relocate you into that community. They'll find a job for you in that community, and the kids usually go to that school because you're 45 minutes away if you go to Bonne Terre,
Right.
and you're 40 minutes or more away, depending if you go to in Jefferson County, and then Perryville has one too. So a lot of our people don't want their kids to move schools, or they don't have transportation. They might have a vehicle, but they don't have money to pay for the gas back and forth to keep their job. A lot of our families that are in St. John are here because they want to be here. So their families are here, their support systems are here, like grandma picks the kids up after school and drops them off at their band practice and things like that. So the shelters out of town don't really work for the people. So most of them want to stay in St. Genevieve. So we try to work with them so that they can stay in St. Genevieve, if that's what they choose, But that's what the issue that I see a lot is, they don't want to go into a shelter. But we can still work with them and set them up with the agencies that they need to support them whatever they choose to do.
Right.
But I encourage the shelter stay. And once we do have an actual building shelter, then we'll be able to help them with that. But there's also the housing that we went to. We went to a housing conference, and we are hoping to set up some of the grants and stuff that they have, where the landlords can be pre-approved through like HUD and things.
Yes.
And we can get them into the emergency shelter, where we can shelter them for up to 30 days or more, like in an emergency shelter, short stay type thing. And then they get into an apartment where their apartment can be paid for like 4 months at a time. So the landlord knows that they're going to get paid for 4 months.
Right.
And then they don't have to have first month, last month, because they're guaranteed paid for 4 months. And in that 4-month time period, the survivor can get a job, get things lined up, and all those kind of things.
Yeah.
So even though we don't have an actual building, we can keep them, in
can
the
still do it,
emergency
right.
situation for up to 30 days. So, or longer if we choose.
And
to.
you don't have to worry about packing a bag either. You can come without anything.
Oh yeah, you can come without anything. Most of the people that I get are the clothes on their back.
Most of them
And that's
do.
it.
Yeah.
because There's always help out there.
It's kind of like
Usually they don't have socks either. Socks is the number one thing that I run to Dollar General for.
I was going to say, most of their situations is flight.
Right, flight,
situation.
yeah.
You go,
Yep.
Yeah.
and that's it.
Yeah, don't worry about toothbrush or toothpaste. Most of them don't. Most of them come with the clothes on their back, honest to goodness.
And that's probably the safest way.
If that's what it is, yeah. Most of them have an exit plan. We work on an exit plan with them, and we have plans, but usually it's running out the door.
And another subject that we ran across too, someone had asked, when we do get the building, where is it going to be? That is something that you're not going to know. That will be secret. That will be kept
Yeah,
secret.
Right.
yeah. Once we do get a building,
Yeah,
it will not be.
divulged where that is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it will take a lot of funds to get the actual building. Besides the building,
Yeah.
you've got the overhead and the insurance, and then we have to educate the staff, and we actually have to pay the staff too.
Yeah.
So it will be expensive, so.
Yeah,
But we are working towards it, and we have some grants that we're looking at that are hefty, so we're hoping to get
And
those.
that's why it's so important that if anybody can do financial help, that they
Or if you want to
do it.
volunteer, if you're a grant writer especially, we like you, come visit us.
Those are important people. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, volunteers too, we
Yes.
like volunteers. We
I'm
have
always open to that.
the Rockathon and the rally will take volunteers for, or anything else. If you're interested in helping at all, just give us a call, and not only do we provide services, but we take services too.
We'll find something for you to do.
Yeah. It's a needed service, and most everybody in town knows someone who, is a victim, or they're suspicious of someone being a victim. It's pretty common. I mean, usually.
And we're not saying, and of course,
Oh, yeah, no, it's
And of
not
course-
everywhere, but
we're not saying that St. Genevieve County is a bad county that has
No.
this is across the state, it's across the United States, it's
Probably
pretty-
across the world.
It's probably across the world. And, raising a family in today's economy with inflation like it is and the high cost of
It's
food.
hard.
It's hard to do, and the stresses and pressures build. And, we understand if they're, we just want the victims to know we do understand a lot more than you think.
Yeah.
And we're willing to listen to you. And if you come in and see us and talk to us, you don't even have to face the domestic violence aggressor in court for an undue length of time. If it goes that far, you can just stay in my office. I have a staff that's had all of this training too, and we're dedicated to helping domestic victims, and we want to do the right thing by you. So,
And something I've always said, which I think probably sits wrong with some people, is just because you're in a domestic violence situation doesn't mean that you have to get a divorce or end your relationship, depending on what's going on. I mean, sometimes going to counseling or just having, the friend talk to him and say, hey, what's going on here? And so told me this is happening, what you doing? And maybe just getting a little bit of check going on in relationships can change that. It doesn't have to be set in stone. We want to change behaviors and make things better, and catching things early and changing things early before they get worse is what we want to do too. So it
Because
doesn't
you really
have
want
to.
the best for everyone.
Right,
not
and
just
things
Right.
escalate and escalate. So if we can catch them when they're small, one of my favorite calls was a girl called me and she's like, he's starting to be verbally aggressive and things, and she's like, I want to know where the shelter is, and is this abuse, and things like that was her questions. And I said, I love this phone call because I wish more people would ask those questions early.
Right.
And so she wanted to do some interventions, and I gave her some counselors' numbers and things. So that's what's ideal. That's the call I want more often, so they can identify these issues and they can start counseling, or maybe talk to the friend or whatever, have the friend talk to the friend, and put a little check in there.
And it's always good for somebody to have someone to talk to.
Yeah. So if
And
we can get
confide
it
in,
early,
yes.
if we can get it early and change the behaviors, and it doesn't even have to get to where it's,
Right.
worse. So,
And I think in some cases, they don't even really realize what they're doing. I mean,
Yeah.
it's so
if you get
gradual.
it early, if you get it early, they don't. But then once it gets into like a pattern with them, they can go from one relationship to the next relationship to the
yes.
next relationship, and they actually get worse and worse and worse as it goes. So if we can catch them early and change their behavior, then we can change just the way they
Because that's kind of a mental problem in a way.
it could be the way that they think.
Yeah, or how you were raised.
Some
or,
of them, it can be like a personality disorder,
Right.
but some of it is a learned behavior. So if we can catch them before it
right.
twists too bad.
It's
Does
just
that
a
make
shame that
It
has to
does,
go
yeah.
on in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if we can prevent it or catch it when it's early and things like that, I mean, some you can't change, period, but if we can change what we can change, that would be great.
Right.
So a lot of this will be prevention too, which is part of the Willow's Nest mission vision statement. You can read that. Do we have that?
I don't know if
I
I
don't know
brought
if we
that
have
with me or
that.
not.
But part of our mission vision statement is
yes.
to work with, like Wayne, work with community partners and education with like at schools and organizations, which I already
we
kind
are.
of do already. So Bernetta can read our
Okay.
mission vision statement.
On the mission, it's to advance social change and build a community free from domestic violence by providing shelter and support services to individuals and families affected by domestic violence and sexual violence. Leading the community in education and prevention initiatives, promoting awareness, safety, and pathways to healing. Then our vision is a community where domestic and sexual violence is met with awareness, intervention, and compassion until we live violence-free.
Very good.
Very good. Yeah.
And your name, Willow's Nest, is the name of your
Shelter.
Shelter.
That's our name, yeah. And it's Transforming Tomorrow Together is
Yeah.
our logo, I guess.
That's with
Our
it.
motto.
But that's not going to be a name on a house.
Our motto. Well, it's like our motto or
Right,
whatever. Our
right,
motto, maybe
right.
that's what it is. So,
Yeah,
all righty. Well, I guess we need to go to that meeting. You want to go ahead and head out?
yeah.
Yeah,
think we should.
I forgot we had a meeting after
You have a
this.
meeting, okay.
Yeah, I wasn't even paying
Well, I think
attention.
you did a lot of good information.
Yeah,
Oh, you were
yeah.
here.
And we've been so busy. It's been crazy.
It has been.
Yeah,
That's okay, we're getting there.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Thank you for coming.
yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
All right,
Yeah.
we're
Nice
gonna
to see
head
you
out.
guys again.
Nice to see
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, so if you have anything else to say, you can talk about whatever you want.
What do you want to know? Anything you want to know? Anything in particular you want to talk about?
Yeah,
I like that food conversation earlier.
yeah,
was
that
pretty
food
good.
conversation was
That
good.
was good. I like that too.
Food's always
Yeah,
good.
That is good. I like that part.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know. I could say, I guess, just briefly. Do you know how many more minutes we have? Is it,
We can do till 8:30.
okay. I'm in no hurry. I could just talk a little bit about my background.
Okay, you can do that.
And I'm running for election.
Okay,
Okay. Well, some people that don't know me, like I said before, they keep me at the courthouse, and we're really, really busy, and it's hard to get out into the community on a regular basis. So I don't know a lot of people in the community, but I am running for re-election for county prosecuting attorney. I've been your county prosecuting attorney since 2019. And I've lived in St. Genevieve County since 2017. Before that, I lived in St. Francis County over in Farmington for 22 years. I've worked exclusively in the area of criminal law. I've never been one of the attorneys that handles family cases, domestic or divorces, or child custody cases or anything like that. No probate, no civil practice. It's always been exclusively devoted this entire 30 years to criminal law. And I've handled thousands and thousands and thousands of cases. When I did criminal defense for 22 years, and during that time period, I've handled probably 80 homicide cases. And when I came here in 2019, immediately we got a first-degree murder case right off the bat. And so I was in pretty good, I felt pretty good about how I could prosecute that case and handle that case, and we successfully closed that case. That person received life without parole. We did not feel like it was a death penalty case. It was a wife who murdered her husband. It's a shooting case. And so from handling all the other homicide cases, it really gave me a good perspective on, okay, in this type of case, what do we need to look for? What's the prevailing, baseline for handling this type of case? And I think we handled that case well. That person will no longer be a threat to anyone else in the community and things of that nature. But 30 years is a long time to be practicing law with a big caseload, and I've had a huge caseload my entire career. Thousands of cases, literally just thousands of cases. Since I've been a prosecuting attorney, I would estimate, well, in 2023, I know that our statistics reflect that we filed a little bit in excess of 4,100 cases. And until recently, I've been the only prosecuting attorney in the county, county prosecutor. So that's a lot of cases for one lawyer to handle. Most of those cases are, we do a lot, half of those cases probably are traffic court cases. We do get some felony cases on the traffic court dockets, but most of those are speeding and driving while revoked and things of that nature. So it's not real extremely complicated. But still, you have to deal with those cases. They take time, and I estimate I've had 27,000 cases since I've been a prosecuting attorney based on the numbers that I have so far. And so I just think that, I came from a small community like St. Genevieve County in Arkansas. Clark County, Arkansas is a small community, about 15,000 people, rural, county. Good food and everything down there. But I would just
food
say
again.
the food again,
Yeah,
the food
again
again.
with the food.
But it was a good experience. I feel I've been very fortunate in my career. I've successfully prosecuted all the trials that we've had here. I haven't lost any trials. I would say St. Genevieve County, we don't have that much violent crime here, but we do have felony offenses. And out of the violent offenses, I have successfully prosecuted those violent offenses. We had a guy on a child sex case who violated two sisters when they were really, really young, like 7 or 8, and he was sentenced to 20 years. That was probably in my first or second term. I'm not sure. It was in that neighborhood. And then last year we prosecuted a guy, and a lot of people don't realize that I do try cases in St. Francis County that were initiated in St. Genevieve County, but defendants have a right, if they timely request it, to get a change of venue to another county. Right. The prosecuting attorney has no right to a change of venue, really, as a matter of right. So a lot of times defense attorneys will timely file motions for change of venue. It's automatically going to be tried in some other county. And this case was a very, very serious sexual offense case, and it was tried in St. Francis County. I think we tried it over the course of 3 days, and private attorneys were very, very competent and capable lawyers. We tried the case, and the defendant was convicted of 8 counts and sentenced to 240 years in the Department of Corrections. So on that kind of case, we had really, really good evidence. We had not only corroborating evidence from multiple victims and a third person, a child that was a witness, but we had physical evidence as well. And that really allowed the jury to conclude that this really happened to these children, and it was horrific. And it was, if I could get the death penalty on a case like that, I would seek the death penalty probably. It was so horrific, it just will destroy a child's life forever. And even though you win the case, you feel like, it's not a win because
of the damage.
The damage to the children and the family. But anyway, we did hold that person accountable. And so with violent offenses, we do hold these people accountable. We do prosecute these cases aggressively. Other cases, there's no secret that there's a drug problem in the United States and the world, most likely. But we have a lot of possession of controlled substance cases. If we've got that and the person doesn't have a lengthy criminal history, we usually recommend straight probation, or we recommend some sort of significant treatment for that person, especially if they've never had treatment before. And the goal is, it's not just drugs, it's alcohol as well.
Right.
And we have a drug court, we have an alcohol court, DWI court. And so a lot of times it's to really try to mitigate that problem and get that person turned around and headed in the right direction.
And that's such a hard thing for them to do.
It is. And there's been overdoses. We've had deaths in the county from people overdosing on controlled substances. We have a case pending now. I'm not going to go into detail on that because it's a pending matter, but
right.
It is a problem. People know in the community. I've talked to a lot of people in the community about addiction issues and things of that nature, and we're really doing our part. But that's basically,
Right.
I've been around for a while. I've been exclusively practiced in the 24th Judicial Circuit, which is St. Genevieve County is a part of. In the course of practicing for the last 30 years, even in the beginning of my career, I was in court here in St. Genevieve County. I was in and out of court over here all the time. So St. Genevieve County is not unfamiliar to me. It's a place that I've been here since 1996, basically, in and out of court. And I'm familiar with the personnel you've had here in the past and the current personnel you have now, and we all work really well together. And that's it. It takes teamwork in this type of
Right.
job. You can't do anything by yourself. And I tell my office staff that I'm only as good as the team, the people in my office. So, we have to work together. We have to realize, what the priorities are in the office, and I think we do that on a regular basis all the time. So, I do have, by the way, the endorsement. Personal endorsement of Sheriff Gary Stolzer. I have the personal endorsement of Police Chief Dan Halick with the St. Genevieve City Police Department, and I have the endorsement of the St. Genevieve County Republican Club in this reelection bid. If anybody wants to talk to me, I know that Terry Sue Sheehan is running against me, and she's a nice lady, and Terry and I, we're very cordial with each other when we see each other in public. That's how people should be with each other. And I would just say that if anyone wants to contact me, anybody can call me at my office and ask to speak with me.
And I think most everybody that's running for office would be open for that.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
they would, yeah.
And they should be.
They should be, because people
Correct.
want to know you're an elected official, and you're elected by the people in St. Genevieve County. And if a voter has a question about something, they should be able to call and talk to you about that. And I'm open to that. I do talk to people actually from time to time about the campaign, but people stop by sometimes, and sometimes they call. So if anybody wants to do that, feel free to do that.
Yeah.
I'm open to that.
And I think a thing that should be put out there too is if anybody has problems and you need help, don't wait and put it off and be ashamed. Just go get the help you need, and you can be anonymous or whatever, but it would really be to your benefit to do that.
Absolutely.
I pray for the alcohol and drug addiction all the time because it's such a horrible thing to get into, to be a victim of.
It is a horrible thing.
And you are
to
a
do.
victim, yeah.
I wouldn't wish drug addiction or alcohol addiction or any other, controlled substance type addiction on my worst enemy. I absolutely would not wish that on those. I've seen people, we have defendants appear in court. A lot of times they were good citizens. They had good jobs, and they worked and were responsible, had families, and then maybe they had some health issue that come up or an injury.
Right.
And they got on pain medication, and it got out of control, and it just took over their lives. And you see their family suffer, their children suffer. They can't control it, and it is a horrible thing to see. And as a prosecuting attorney, you want to try to help that person. We do have drug court in our judicial district. We have a DWI court. Those courts operate a little differently from each other. With a drug court in our jurisdiction, you can enter a guilty plea on a drug case if you are screened and accepted by the drug court people, because there's only so many slots. That's a limited thing that they can supervise. It's not an unlimited resource. So if you're screened and successfully accepted for that, you can enter a guilty plea, and then you go through the drug court program. The drug court program is not an easy program. That is a pretty difficult program, and it takes time. And you're going to be appearing in front of the drug court commissioner on a regular basis. But if you graduate, you can come back to court, and you can withdraw your guilty plea, and the case will be dismissed. So obviously, where I draw the distinction on these types of cases, if you're charged with trafficking in the first degree, where you're selling drugs and doing things of that nature, I see that as a little bit different problem than possessing a controlled substance. If you're selling it to our children, other people in our community, you're causing overdoses and those types of things, I don't really care about your treatment that much. I'm going to prosecute you if I have the evidence to do that with, and we're going to try to put you in prison and punish you. But if you have an addiction issue, and you've got maybe a possession of a controlled substance case in our county, one in St. Francis County, one in Jefferson County, we see that a lot. It's just repetitive, but it's all possession of a controlled substance, and you don't have any other priors or a significant criminal history, or one that's recent, we will give you an opportunity for treatment in drug court or some other treatment options that are available.
And that's wonderful.
And that's wonderful. Now DWI court is a little bit different. DWI court, you have to take a felony conviction to get into DWI court in our jurisdiction. So you would plead guilty to felony DWI. It can't be one of the more serious ones. It's got to be around the E felony range, most likely, or D felony maybe. And you got to be screened for that. If you're accepted into the DWI court, you can enter that. You'll have a backup. You'll have a sentence. It'll be a conviction. When you enter the guilty plea and you're sentenced, and part of your probation conditions will be to complete the DWI court. And DWI court, a lot of people don't realize this. So it really gives the prosecuting attorney the best of both worlds. If the person successfully completes the DWI court, then we've mitigated down the chances the person will reoffend and pose a danger to others. Now, we're talking about in this DWI court, not your first-time DWI offender. We're talking about someone that's had 5 or 6 DWIs and they can't stop drinking and driving, and they pose a danger to all of us out there just driving home every day. That's the type of person we want to get into the DWI court. So if that person successfully completes the DWI court, yes, they do have a conviction, but we've really retarded that risk that they're going to reoffend and have an accident, run over someone and kill them or something like that, or harm themselves. If they don't successfully complete the DWI court, then they come back for a probation violation for sentencing. And then at that point, I would be asking the court to execute their sentence. So they would go to prison. So it's the best of both worlds for prosecuting attorney on the DWI court stuff. Mm-hmm. We also have a veterans court. I've seen a few veterans in our community that have had, it's usually a combination. The primary problem is mental. It's
So sad.
Psychiatric due to combat situations or something like that. And you know, we really try to help the veterans, but there's a veterans court. It's not in our judicial district. They have to go out of the district for that. But we have sent people outside our district for the veterans court, and they have been successful. But it's a combination usually of mental, and they'll self-medicate on controlled substances to some degree. And it may be alcohol or it may be drugs or something like that. But so there are a lot of treatment options out there for the people who qualify for those options. And we want to get that help for those people because it makes our community a safer place. And if the person doesn't successfully complete that, just like the drug court, they can come back and then they can have a sentence and it can be executed and they can go to prison if they don't benefit from the treatment. So there's a huge incentive for the person entering the treatment programs to benefit from the program and not get sent to the Department of Corrections. So, I would like nothing better than to see the person successfully graduate from every drug court participant or DWI court or veterans court participant graduate, and it just means our community's safer as a result of that. So these are the things that we work on every single day. We have cases like this all the time, and those resources are out there. You know, prosecutors have to know how they work, and you have to know who qualifies for those things, and not the serious offender, somebody that's got huge problems. They wouldn't qualify, but so we're just trying to make it a safer place.
Yeah. That's a lot of really good information that you just put out there.
Well, thank you. Yeah.
I hope everybody listening tells a friend or passes it on.
Sure.
That there's always help once you're too far gone or you think you are.
I'm really
just seek for help. Yeah.
Absolutely, people should do that. And I'm really surprised at our victims of. We had a DWI case once where there was a young man in our community who had a bad drinking and driving problem. And he ran into this young couple, and he exited his vehicle and ran off to a bar. And he was found about 2 hours later, so it was impossible for me to prove, number one, the people that he hit could not identify him. Their airbags deployed, and they were not harmed. They were safe. And this person had just a horrific problem. if the defense attorney, it was a local defense attorney, if they wanted to take that case to trial, they would have beat us because they would have been a not guilty verdict. I couldn't prove he was under the influence and driving at the time. He could have argued that he consumed the alcohol that put him over some level or something the 2 hours after the accident occurred before law enforcement arrested him. But the defense teams, local team, they're very good at what they do. And those individuals saw that the best thing to do for this client is to let's address the problem. And they went to DWI court, and they used to get DWIs all the time. That's been about a year ago or more, and they haven't had any DWIs.
Well, that's wonderful.
And
Yeah.
there's people in the community, and there's business leaders in the community that's seen this person publicly and talked to them and said that they just act like a different person. That's an example of a success story that makes the community much safer.
Right.
And it took the effort of not only the prosecuting attorney, but the defense lawyers involved in the case that are local defense lawyers that realized that makes the community safer. So that was a good result. We're very proud of that.
Yeah.
I hope that individual, if he's listening or sees this video, I hope he, realizes that
How thankful he should be.
how thankful he should be and how thankful I am that he benefited from that treatment.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so anything else?
No, ma'am, I can't think of anything.
Okay, so we'll tell everyone good evening, and we'll be back toward the end of the month. And thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
You are welcome.
Thank
so
you.
we'll just wave goodbye to everyone. It's
Bye.
delay.
Okay.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Thanks for